Hey guys, welcome back to a video this morning. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to respond to a request of how to make an adult basic beanie. I've done beanie videos before, but you're going to be able to do this beanie with a single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, triple crochet, any of the 4 basic stitches. So once you learn to do the basic beanie, you can open up worlds and worlds of creativity for your beanie, because once you have the foundation beanie established, then you can go 100 different directions with it, adding your own creativity, your own design, your own decorations, anything. So just once you get your basic beanie, adult beanie pattern down pat, explore with it and just build on it, make your own patterns. That's my best advice to some of you who want to do some of your own patterns, is just explore what's out there and then just get yourself some ideas, because the beanies are by far some of the most simplest crochet projects that there are, in my opinion. And like I say, once you start understanding the basics of a beanie, then you can just design and decorate and make a million different types of beanies. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with a 5mm hook, which is an H, and I have just a rough ball here that I'm going to use up today. It has a mix of, it's a gray foundation with like a little burnt orange and copper yellow in it, and then I'll also maybe do a trim with tan here. So what we're going to do to get started, and your beanies also, the size of your beanies will be determined by the amount of increase rounds. So the first thing we're going to do is make our slip knot. Okay, and then we're going to do a chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, you're going to go all the way to the beginning and hit that beginning stitch or chain, and you're going to pull through and through for a slip stitch. Okay, and then you're just going to pull, let me tighten up my little loop there. Okay, pull through and through. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. Now again, if you're working in a half double crochet, you're just going to chain up 2. If you're working in a single crochet, you're going to be chaining up 1. So keep that in mind. That is important based on the stitch that you're using. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your tail and you're going to hold it so that you can work over it just like this, and you're going to add 11 double crochet to the center ring here. So this is going to count as 1. You're going to add 11, and counting that chain 3, you will have 12 double crochet. Okay, so you're just going to yarn over and you're going to do 11 double crochet total, and then once you get all the way around to your chain 3 that you started with, you should have a total of 12. Okay, and that's what you want to happen there. And to be honest with you, I don't even start counting until I get almost to the end, because I don't see any sense in trying to count while I'm trying to talk. So when I think I'm getting close, I'll stop and I will count my stitches. But again, like I say, whether you're making a baby beanie, a slouch beanie, beret, adult beanie, beret, anything like that, it's all based on the amount of crochet rounds, because the crochet rounds, I caught myself, increase rounds. But that's going to be the determination of what size any beanie is going to be. Okay, so let's count. So count that chain 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's do one more. Okay, so now take your tail and just pull it and close up the center ring, the center hole there. Okay, it may not close all the way, but that's fine. Now you're going to go to your first chain 3 that you started with, and you're going to count up 3, and in that third one you're going to do a slip stitch. So go through both of them, pull through and through, and that's going to be your first step. So now your next round, you're going to do the same as what we did on the beginning one. You're going to start out with a chain 3, and all through this pattern, for a double crochet beanie only, you're going to be doing a chain 3 at the beginning. Now you're going to start your increase rows here, so that means that every stitch on this second round is going to get 2 double crochet. So basically you've already got your first one here, so this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you want to go back into that same hole right there and do another double crochet. Okay, that gives you an increase in that stitch, so that gives you 2. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go all the way around, and you're going to put 2 double crochet in the top of each double crochet. Okay, so by the time you get to the end of this round, you should have doubled your amount, which you had 12, so you're going to double it. You're going to have a total of 24 double crochet. So again, this you're going to see that once you keep going around and around and around with your increase rows, that your crown, which this is the crown of your beanie, is going to get bigger. And the only way that it can get bigger is if you increase. You know, you got 2 ways to go. You either increase or you either decrease in making your beanies. And decrease, of course, is going to make it smaller, and the increase, of course, is going to make it larger. Now you can also change the size of your beanies based on your hook. I'm using a 5. If you want to make it bigger, I would recommend you go up to a 6. You want to make it smaller, I would recommend you go down to a 4. Most beanies, from my experience, are made anywhere from a 4mm to a 5.5mm, and then when it gets bigger than that, you're usually working with bulk yarn. You're working with the more chunkier style. And keep in mind, that will also change the size of your beanie. So we're almost here at the end, and I've got a tip for you once we get here. Okay, so let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we need 2 more. So we're going to go into that last one for 2 more. And a hint, on each round, when you're at the end, to know that you're doing your stitches correctly, you will always do this last stitch. In this last stitch of each row, you will have an increase, which means there will be 2 double crochet in the last stitch on each row. That's how you're going to know that your stitch count is done correctly. But that is just a little hint. Okay, so that was row 2, and I will be back and we will go to row 3 next. Okay guys, we are now on round 3 of our beanie. What you're going to do at this point is you're going to count up our 3 at the beginning, the 3 chains at the beginning, and you're going to do a slip stitch into that top chain 3. Okay, so now you have your completed round 3. Now we're going to repeat and do 3 chains. Now for this row, and every row after this is going to be very similar, but just one slight difference. Now you're going to do an increase round. You're not going to put 2 in each stitch. You're going to put, this is going to count as 1 in this stitch. In your next stitch, you're going to put 2 double crochet in the next. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a combination. You're not going to increase in each stitch, because then that's going to make it too big, too quick, and it's going to be a mess. So you've got 1, and then you've got 2. The next one, you want to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then in the next one, you're going to do 2. So if you can count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, you should be able to do this row just fine. So that was 2. Then the next one gets 1. Next one gets 2. Okay, That's going to increase it correctly, and it's going to make sure that it doesn't end up in just a big old wad of mess for you. So that's 1, and then you're going to do 2 in this stitch. Okay, so that's what you're going to do this whole way around. So 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and again the hint was what, guys? I told you that the very last stitch, if you did your stitches correctly, will have 2 in the very last one. It will be your increase stitch. There's always going to be an increase stitch at the end of each row, okay, if it's done correctly. Now I'm sure there's some that will debate with that, but then there's others that will say that's exactly right. Not saying that if you're off, it's still going to be fine, but if you do too many like that, you're going to start noticing a difference. You're going to start noticing some differences in the shape of your beanie. So, you know, if you make one mistake and you know it's a mistake, you know you didn't get 2 in that last stitch, I would highly recommend that you pull that out. So that's another reason that I recommend you counting all of your stitches on each row, especially if you're a beginner. But hey, I'm not a beginner, I still do count my stitches, only because I don't want to have to frog it and pull it all back out, and that is just not a nice thing to have to do. Okay, so you see I'm up to the very last stitch, and my last stitch was a single, so this stitch is automatically going to be an increase stitch. Okay, so you should end up at this point with 36 double crochet. Alright, and once you've counted those, you're going to count up 3 on that beginning chain 3 like we've been doing, and then you're going to pull through and through with a slip stitch. Okay, now you're going to do your 3 chains again, and you're going to do a similar process. So the last row you did 1 2 1 2. This time you're going to go 1 more single stitch in between before you do your increase. So you've got 1 in this stitch, the next one gets 1 stitch, not 2 this time, then the next one gets 2. Okay, so this time you're going 1 2, or you're going 1 1 2 1 1 2, not 1 2, but 1 1 2. You're going to be adding a single every row. So the next row is going to be 1 1 1 2. The next row will be 1 1 1 1 2. You see what I'm saying? You're just going to go around for every increase row that you make. There's going to be an extra single double crochet before your increase. So again, you start over. There's a 1. Whoops, sorry guys. 1. My yarn's got a little bit of lace in it there. And this is 2. Okay? So you're increasing in every 3rd stitch. So you start over with a 1, 1, and 2. One, 1, and 2. Okay? You'll do that all the way around, and hopefully if you're doing it correctly you will end up with 2 stitches in the last, and we will be back. Guys, I am back. I did up to the last 3 stitches so that you could see what I've got going on here. I've got 3 stitches left, so we're going to do 1 in the next, and the last stitch you have should be an increase. So I know that I am on spot with my stitches. Alright, so now what I'm going to show you is, this is the crown of our beanie. and hopefully you can see this. This is my mannequin head. Okay, so this is the face. Your crown part is going to go right here. Now what you're wanting to do is make sure that when you put this crown on your mannequin like this, that it's going to cover the crown, okay? You see this is not quite big enough for this adult mannequin head, but this is perfect for a baby or toddler beanie. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your hands up on the sides of your beanie like this. Okay, it's best I can get it in the picture, guys. And you're going to hold your fingers on your ears, and the idea is this sides, both sides are supposed to be able to touch your hands. So basically you see it's not even close to touching my hands yet, so this needs to come in contact with your hands here. That's going to be how you know that your beanie is going to fit you. And of course you can also measure it. It's always more precise to do measuring. So basically, if you're wanting to do a kid beanie or a child size, baby size, you won't go any further than this. But if you're making an adult beanie and you are going to have to go further, you're going to go up to your chain 3 and you're going to do your slip stitch like you've been doing. Okay, and then you're just going to move on to your next round. I'll grab my yarn here. If I can get my cat from chewing on it. But, so anyways, you're going to do the same process. You're going to chain up 3. Okay, now this row, you've got your first one started. The next one's going to get 1. And the next one's going to get 1. Remember, the last row was 1, 1, 2. This time it's going to be 1, 1, 1, 2. Okay, so again, you're going to be increasing on the 4th stitch, not the 3rd. So you increased on the same stitch in the beginning round. You increased on the 2nd one in the next round. You increased on the 3rd one in the next round. Now your increase is on the 4th stitch on this round, okay? So it's really not difficult. You just got to keep up with your rows. So let's do 1, 1, 1, and then 2. So you're doing 3 singles and then you'll do a double. Okay, so again, 1, 1, 1, and then 2. And to be honest with you, and no matter what you're making, the increase is going to be the same. You're going to do this process, you know, whether you're making a beanie or anything like that. It's going to be the same process of increase. You're just going to keep, you know, moving up in your increase rounds until whatever you're making is the size you want it to be. But that is the process of making things bigger to fit. So you got 1, 1, 1, 2. But the thing about it is if you don't increase, you're going to end up with something in the shape of like a cylinder. You don't want that when you're trying to make a hat or a beanie, but that's why your increasing is so important. I did have someone that followed me back last year that was trying to make a beanie and they ended up with a purse. So and it does happen. I don't mean to laugh, but you know, if you don't laugh, sometimes you want to cry about it. But yeah, but if you don't do your increased rounds, all you're doing is you're making a tube. So you really got to realize how important that increasing is in crochet projects. And it doesn't get any harder than this. I mean, it's fairly simple. You just, you know, and if it helps you to keep up with your rows, you can always write them down as you do them. You know, if you increased, you know, on one row, you can write down, you know, 1, 1, 1, and then 2. it's always a good aid to write things down and be able to follow it that way, especially if you're new. You're always looking for shortcuts and helpful hints and things like that. So but to me, it's gotten to where I used to make probably 12 beanies a day. When I got into making beanies, I've got so many of them stashed. But once you get to making beanies, it's almost like an addiction. Because again, like I said, you can do so much with just a basic beanie, as far as adding your own touch to them. So they're fun. And you're going to see it's going to start to curl on you a little bit, and that's fine. Okay, so we're up to our last 4 stitches. Sorry guys, that was my camera. We're up to our last 4 stitches, so you're going to do 1, 1, 1. That was our 3 singles. And then you should have one more, which is your last stitch, which is also your increase stitch. Then that gets 2. Okay? Then you want to join to the top of that chain 3. And you see it's starting to bowl up on you, and you know that's fine. But now, right now, as this stands with 4 rounds of 4 rounds of increase, this is going to be what I would consider a small to medium adult hat. If you wanted it to be even bigger for like a male, you can go another round. But this, you know, and you got to keep in mind that these are going to stretch, so you do have to allow for that. So if you want to take your chance and go one more row, that's fine. But I'm not going to go another row. But if you do go another row, you're going to do your chain 3, and then on this time you're going to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. So you're going to have 4 singles and then your increase. So 4 single double crochet, 1 in each of the next 4, and then in the next stitch, which is going to be your 5th, you're going to put 2. It's simple. It just keeps going up to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, just whatever you know that you want to do as far as increase. So this, at this point, this is your crown part in completion. Okay, so now the next steps is very simple, and I'm not going to finish this with you because you're going to find oh, is that all there is to it? So now you're going to do a chain 3. Okay, now all there is, all the way down until you get to the length you want, you're just going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch around. And yep, that's all there is to it. You're not going to do anything special. If you're working in double crochet, keep working in double crochet and go all the way around. Once you get over here, you're going to join in that top of that chain 3 like we've been doing. You'll chain 3 and then you'll start another double crochet round. And that's all there is. That's it to making an adult size beanie. You know, now if you want a beanie that it's long enough to roll, all you want to do is make your beanie about 3 to 4 inches longer, something that you can roll up. But again, you can try on your beanie at that point, and you can see how many rows it's going to take you to get to the point of having enough to roll up. So that is, of course, up to you. And it's all, at that point, it's all about fitting. So like I said, all you're doing right now is you're going to do row after row after row of double crochet. And I'm not going to speculate on how many rows you need. Again, like I say, that is only determined by how you wear your beanie. If you wear it short and above the ears, you'll want to go a little shorter. If you want it to be a rolled beanie, then you're going to have to go about 3 to 4 inches longer. You know, so But then now you are going to start to see the form, your beanie form. It's going to start bowling up on you more, and that's what it's supposed to do, so don't be scared of that. So basically, depending on the size yarn you're using also is going to determine how many increase rows you do. And you can go one more increase row and it still be an adult hat, but there are small, medium, and large adult hats, so this would be a small. So basically what you would do when you get to the end of your beanie, you always want to put a finishing row. So when you get to your last row that you've done, I would recommend doing a row of single crochet to bind everything together. I very often do a crab stitch, and I do have a video on that as well. Sometimes I just don't like to do the basic single crochet, so I'll just do the crab stitch. And at that point, you can also take a color change in yarn, and you can make the bottom finishing row or so a different color, and I have a video on how to change out your color as well. So again, there's really no need in me filming this row after row after row of double crochet, because that's all you're going to be doing. Okay, so just keep in mind, if you wanted it smaller, you make one less row of increase. You want it bigger, make an additional row of increase. It's very simple. And no matter what, once you're at the end of your beanie, you do need to have a finishing row. No matter what stitch you use, if you use a stitch pattern, if you use a border, if you use a trim, you do need to close that ending row off with some type of finishing technique. It gives it more of a professional look. So again, this is your beanie. And the other thing, you are working from inside out. So once your beanie is complete, or I do it when it's halfway, you want to flip it inside out. So basically, this would be going this way. And then, you know, you would be working completely opposite as far as how your beanie is growing. So then it's going to go down instead of up because you flipped it. So just make sure that you do flip your beanie inside out before you add any type of accessories or decorations. Okay, and then at this point, or at any point once you've completed your circle, your beginning circle, you can clip that. My scissors are terrible. There we go. Okay, so then you'll start bowing it and it'll start looking like a beanie. Alright, so for those of you that requested the adult beanie, this is the video to support that. And until next video, happy hooking!